Welcome to Over the Line, where we challenge everything you've been told about health and wellness. We're here to shake things up for anyone over 40 who's ready to go beyond the basics. Join us as we dive into the radical side of fitness and mindset. We're talking about why we're not afraid to break the rules and how our own lives have been transformed. Ready or not, let's jump in. Hi, I'm Tina Hiatt.
I'm Guy Jones.
And today we're going to talk about breathing and breath work and what that means.
Yeah. Just before we started, I was just going to relay a story to Tina. I thought I'd save it for the show because her husband was the first person to sort of get me into the concept of breath work as a thing. And I kind of went, what are you on about, mate? I've been breathing all my life. I've actually based my life on that rule because every time everyone I know who's not alive anymore, they stop breathing. So I've kind of decided that I'm going to breathe a lot. And then he kind of explained what breath work's all about. And right. And then wandered off into a realm of, oh my God, this is amazing. There's so much you can do. Fun for all the family.
Yeah, and he does have I have a recording of him doing breath work that we'll show.
Hi there. I'm going to show you what to do when feeling a little low in energy, feeling a little bit of stinking thinking going on, or you're just in a space that feels rather stressful or awkward. Breathing. Breathing is the key to many of our issues, right from digestive problems to lymphatic function to hormonal imbalances, musculoskeletal pain and discomfort. The list could go on and on. But essentially, breathing is the first reflex that we integrate when we are born. And everything else, all the other reflexes and all the other functions of the body transpire from the breath. So if that first breath reflex is somewhat compromised, then you are probably going to experience all those other aspects of functionings of the body also compromised. So we work on the breath, it changes all. Change the breath, change our body, change our mind, change our life. And it has saved me on many occasions when I'm feeling off. So what I would suggest, first thing, taking the shoes off, getting connected to Mother Earth, feeling the earth. Do this on soil, grass, sand, but essentially it's getting connected to the earth. If you have to do it on concrete or tarmac, okay, that's second best. But but the thing is, let's get and breathe. So one thing I share with many of my clients and friends and family, if you're feeling out of sorts, the most simple way to breathe is to do some nice gentle squat breaths. Now, the first principle, tongue in the roof of the mouth, as that then helps connect through the diaphragm, through the dantian, and we're able to breathe from the stomach. When we mouth breathe, we start breathing from the chest, and that causes anxiety and stinking thinking and all sorts of negative things. So the first thing to do, get in the space, feel the earth, feel your connection. Nice, quiet, if you can, nice, quiet space. Nice and present with yourself. Tongue in the roof of the mouth. As you dip down into the squat, exhale. As the body gets smaller, let the air out. And as you come up, inhale. Nice and deep, nice and slowly. Feeling that breath coming through that stomach. Just a nice squat breaths. I say if you're in a real rush, like you're in work or you've got a couple of minutes, just do a couple of minutes or even as little as 12 breaths. Start from there. It's amazing how it shifts your vibration. Another great breathing practice, slightly different. This is where my arms are out, and as I breathe in, into the stomach, inhale as you bring the arms in, exhale. In through the nose, out through pursed lips. Exhaling that breath, emptying the stomach. Feel you're bringing the energy through the earth into your body. From the earth into the body and out again. What I normally do, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of breathing, bringing in from the dantian, the stomach, and now from the chest. And then lastly, through the head, through the crown. Bringing in through the, up from the sky, into the body. There we go. So they're just a couple of simple breaths, practices that you can do at any time. Even if you are in an office space or in some work mode, or if you're out in the park, out in nature, always a good time. There's never an improper time to breathe. I do it every morning. It's changed my life. And I trust that you may start practicing too. Thank you.
We just breathe. That's what we do naturally. But there's a thing connected to health and well-being and your breath work and how breathing can help in many ways. And it's really that deep breath, the one that goes into your belly and letting it out slowly, and it's the focus of the breath coming in and going out. So Guy, what's your experience after what happened when Wayne went through this breath, and what was your realization of it?
Well, I think the initial like mind-blowing part of it was, oh my God, there's so many different ways of breathing. And you know, I mean, I've written down some notes. I've got 2 pages of them. It's literally for what I used to do first thing in the morning, and it would cover 2 hours of my very, very early morning up until getting out of bed. But ultimately, what's actually in those notes is not a lot of stuff there, except for holding on to the breath externally or holding on to the breath internally. Long periods of time spent doing that, and then what you get from that is that your back doesn't hurt anymore. I mean, there's a technique that Wayne showed me that for some reason I can't think of the name of it anymore, but it's one of Bonnie Bainbridge Cohen's techniques that I always used to do at the very end, and it's about pushing the air into areas where you have tension and tightness, possible injury. You might have a disease. I don't know. I mean, that one that begins with C and is also a zodiac sign. Well, you're not allowed to talk about it, but you can breathe into these things and make and improve the quality of your life through that. And I know that I've had a major hip injury that I've injured twice, and I used to breathe into there and push in deeply, and then when I got out of bed, my range of movement had increased. I mean, I guarantee that, and it's kind of, and that's just, and the other mind blowing part is all the benefits you get from it doesn't cost you a penny. You don't have to see a doctor about it. You don't have to be put on drugs, and so the benefits completely and utterly outweigh the cost of the time spent doing it.
Well, I mean, for all the women out there, I was suffering from menstrual cramps quite heavily, and Wayne said, just breathe. So I breathed very deeply into that area, and I mean, our cramps are painful, by the way, and right into the gut, and just held it and kept doing it, and then it went away. And every time I got menstrual cramps, I did that practice and it was gone. It's a concentration and just that holding it in and going through a little bit of that pain of the cramp to release it. It's just the releasing of, when you bring in the oxygen to it, it helps release the tension and the pain of the menstrual cramp. So I do practice that quite a lot when I get menstrual cramps. And other women were like, no way, it does not work. That doesn't work. Yeah, try it. It really
Try
does.
it. I mean, maybe it doesn't work for you, because I mean, I know there's certain people I know who, no matter what I give them as advice, it never ever works for them. And I think that
Well, it's the mentality, isn't it?
absolutely. I mean, did it not work, or did it not even bother and just go, I can't be bothered? I just tell them it doesn't work.
That's right.
Because it's much easier to just say this is poo-poo. It's much easier to poo-poo something than actually dig in and find out a lot more about stuff as well. I mean, so let's look at the health. We go past the health benefits. The first time I started doing Kriya Yoga, which is a fairly extreme breath hold, so you exhale up to sort of like 90% of your exhaled air volume reserve, leaving sort of maybe 80-20% left in your lungs, and you hold that, and you're aiming to hold it for 3 minutes. Once you've got to that point where you can't hold your breath anymore, or you're at that 3-minute mark, exhale the last 10-20% of your lungs and hold that for as long as you can. And as soon as you take that next breath, what I was finding was I was being sucked down a tunnel, and there was like this pulsing white light, white circle, I should say, with black in, and it was like looking into someone's iris. And then what I'd noticed, like, this is here. There's nothing in the middle, and there's lots of it's like the TARDIS going through space on the outside. And the first time I ever did this, I got sucked down this tunnel, and I was catapulted out into the universe, millions of stars, and I was traveling at a million miles an hour, going, oh wow, this is amazing. And then slowly but surely slowed down, and then got sucked back in through that tunnel, see that pulsing thing, and then I'm back in my body again. And it's like, whoa, that was. And I've kind of translated that as being looking into the eye of God. And so the positive psychological benefits of that, I'm walking around for the next couple of days going, wow, that was amazing. And then trying to find that again, because it makes, because I mean, if you feel good, if you feel happy, if you feel that you discovered something, when people are telling you there's a God in this world and there's a God in this universe, and you've just seen the eye of God. You've travelled through the eye of God into the universe, into the inner universe. That's pretty amazing stuff, and that makes you feel good. So therefore, you feel healthy.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Well, coming down to a bit more practical.
Yeah.
There's also methods when you have a headache. I don't know about migraines. The breath never really worked for me in my migraines, but I think it's just a breathing practice. But when you get a headache, just breathing into it and relaxing, there's a way to kind of eliminate that headache. And it's a concentration on the area that's aching.
Have you ever tried? Sorry, I've tried to interrupt, but have you ever tried pushing? If you've got a migraine, have you ever tried pushing the air into your head and then holding it there?
Yeah, that's what I do with a headache, but it doesn't work with the migraine for me. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
think for me,
migraines are different.
it's more about my perimenopause with my migraines than it is the breath work. So it's more hormonal for me than it is anything else.
Yeah.
Um, but with a regular headache, yes, I can ease that and release a regular headache. I don't need to take paracetamol or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, another thing as well, if you're, I don't tend to get ill. When I do get something, it will be my throat and above, never goes into my lungs. It never stops me from work, and I never feel sick. I just got these annoying symptoms. Before and after Christmas, I had these annoying symptoms sort of here in this area of my body that it's just annoying. But it wasn't actually making me feel ill. Everyone else around me is dying. They've got snot running down the face. They're in bits. And that's because when you start relaxing, you lie on your back and you're like, oh, I feel rough, and you don't empty the bottom of your lungs. So the pleura, which is the lower part of your lungs, are filling up with junk, and it's just sitting there. So that's where all the germs and the viruses and things build up in there. And if you breathe deeply, you force your diaphragm to move through a range of movement. You fill your belly up. You pull your belly in. You pull your belly back and up, which is part of the yogic style of pranayama, which is the breath work is called pranayama in Sanskrit, and that's the breath work I do, where I'm also bringing my body into it. So I'm pulling, as I'm exhaling, I'm pulling my belly button towards my spine, and then I'm pulling up onto my diaphragm and holding that, which then I'm utilizing my muscles and actually strengthening my core just by lying on my back breathing. And I also had an interesting way of stabilizing my right hip, which is injured, as I've previously said. So all my intercostals are, so my internal external obliques on the right are quite tight, and they don't function in the same way as the left does. And I found that has a way of, not always, but often stabilizing the left and right side of my core.
Yeah, it really does. And then certain movements with the body and the breath. I know there's like the Tai Chi type thing, which is more of a focus practice. I like the really deep focus on the body type of breathing. So there's one, my belly, my sweet belly. It gurgles, right? There's this gurgle every time I take a deep breath. But if I keep taking that deep breath into the belly, the gurgle ends up slowing down and eventually stopping. And you're right. It's exercising it. It's working those muscles as I'm breathing into the belly.
Yeah, and another thing, you're also massaging all your internal organs as you're doing this as well. So that's bringing like prana or chi. The life force energy has been pushed into those organs, so they start to work. Good. I mean, if you spend all day sat at a desk, you're squashing everything. If you're squashing everything, so when you start breathing and you're breathing air, you're creating separation between the organs. You're allowing them to then function. So for example, your heart and your lungs, they move. And if you're squashed down and you're not able to breathe properly, your lungs aren't functioning properly. There is a knock-on effect over time. When you get to a certain age, if you don't move, so like old folks, when they're at their old folks' home and they're sitting in the chair sleeping all day, what they're slowly but surely doing is they're telling their central nervous system, "Oh, we don't do very much anymore, so we're taking up space." And it won't be long before they die. Because ultimately movement is life, and movement starts with the breath going into the body, massaging the organs, which then allows the limbs to move, and it's like a wave traveling through your body. So even when you're just lying down before you even get out of bed, because I used to do all my breath work in bed. I found it's much easier for what I was saying about the pulling the belly button towards the spine and then pulling up. Much easier when you're lying down. And then you can also feel the way that your spine flattens out as you pull in, and then when you breathe out, or as you breathe in, your belly expands, so your spine comes up, and you get this wave-like effect traveling through your spine. That also then starts pushing cerebral spinal fluid up your spine into your brain.
That's right.
It's oxygenating your brain. It's basically CSF is basically lymph. It's taking all the rubbish out of your system, going through your brain, taking out all the nasty stuff from there, and then taking it back and recycling it through your body, so that you wake up having had an internal bath, in effect.
That's right. Well, Guy, just even the applications, right? So when you're working out, there's certain, you breathe in when, I always get it confused. When you squat, do you breathe out? And then when you come up, you breathe in? Or is it opposite?
I mean, no, you can do, because you can do, if you do that body weight squat.
There's breath work involved in
absolutely.
Too. Like the breathing and the way you breathe, where you place your tongue is important.
Yeah.
And another application is meditation. So there's a ton of different types of breath work you can do to get into a meditative state. And it's always the tongue on the roof of the mouth, isn't it? And kind of piercing when you breathe out. I mean, you've showed us a really great demonstration when you were doing the burpees, the way you start and your breath and how you breathe into it. It's just, breath is so important, because if we don't have the breath down, how are we going to oxygenate? How do you say that? Oxygenate?
Oxygenate.
Yeah, thank you. Our bodies, to be able to perform what we are intending to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but like you're saying with the squat, it's if you've got weight on your back, you want to be, or if you're bearing weight, you breathe in at the top, you hold and expand. You also want to be pushing your belly out. As you breathe in, you push your belly out, and then you pull in. And as you squat down, you stabilize your spine. As you come up, you use the breath to help you get back up again, especially when you start getting into some heavy weight. And you also piston breath. That, because you're focusing your breath through a very narrow aperture, it builds up intra-abdominal, intrathoracic pressure, which helps you to get back up again.
Fascinating, isn't it? Like breath can actually give you strength and that you need. Well, even so, I was speaking to this guy. He's like, "Yeah, those," because I enjoy playing tennis. Yeah, are you the woman that goes when you hit the ball? And I said, no, but the women are doing that because it's a form of breath. It's giving them that extra power that women need to hit the ball a bit harder than we would normally. A man not necessarily would need to have that extra breath, even though some of them do. But even sports, when you play a sport, that breath, and even so I used to pitch when I was young, growing up. And so having the ball and even the breath before I pitched the ball was so important to have me relax, not think, and then pitch the ball. So there's a lot that breath goes into whatever we do. And if we're just sitting here, like Guy, you and I are just sitting here, we're just breathing normally. That's not really benefiting us in any way, but we can always get breath work to benefit in a special way.
It's definitely benefiting us, because
it's keeping us alive. It's just a normal breathing.
You'll stop being alive. So I'd say it's very beneficial.
Exactly.
But so what you're saying about the breath that you make when you strike the ball, it's exactly the same as when you are doing any form of martial arts or boxing. When you hear the boxer go as they're throwing a jab, it's the same thing. Intrathoracic, intra-abdominal pressure. In karate, Japanese karate is called that you go, and that's called a ki. Same thing, and the ki is the Japanese version of chi, and chi is internal external energy, invisible energy, which is also known as prana in Sanskrit, which is where we come back to pranayama, which is breath. So it's all It's all there, you know.
All of it.
Some of these things don't even necessarily know you're doing it. I mean, especially if you're very in tune with your body, you probably don't even know you're doing it, but you're doing these things. I remember I was on a pistol range when I was in the army, and it was very late at night, really tired, and this guy started shouting at me in my ear, and basically I'm having to go through the unload load drills before firing, and everyone down the way was having what's called negligent discharge. They're firing off a round. Not really. There's a blank rounds, but it's all done to embarrass you, humiliate you, and make you think, so you never ever do that again in a live situation. I've got this guy in this ear, and I took a massive breath in, closed my eyes a bit, and I kind of in my head I said, "Shut up." And then I went through my drills, but I basically completely relaxed myself before doing it. So although I was in a high stress environment, really high stress, because we're all exhausted, really dehydrated, monster headache, really dehydrated. This guy's giving me jip, and I just deep breath in, held it for a second, exhaled, and that's where I learned box breathing. If you've ever heard of that, which is where you breathe in. This is something that operators do. Just before you attack your enemy, you will go into you're starting to get in a high state of tension. Panic is not a million miles away, and so what they will do is they will breathe in through the nose, breathe in for a certain amount of seconds, hold for exactly the same amount, breathe out for the same amount, hold the out breath for the same amount, and repeat that 4 times. By the time you've done that 4 times, you are in a very, very calm state, and that if you're in a high stress environment where you can do that, you actually have, you know, if you've been attacked, chances are you're not going to think about it. But if you're in a situation where you can see something's coming up, or you've got a high stress meeting, or there's an exam coming up, do that just before you go in, and you will be calm. Another trick I discovered as well, because when I used to work in London, on the way home every evening, within 20 minutes, I'm starting to get tired now. You know, the stress of the day. I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning, had a very stressful drive in. Now I'm on the M25 at crawl, and what I really want to do is go to sleep. So what I used to do was I'd do breath holds, because one thing I discovered was it's impossible to fall asleep if you're holding your breath. So I would not nod off, because I'm trying to hold my out breath for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I've finished, as soon as I can't do any more, lots of rapid breathing, totally oxygenating my brain. I've got rid of all the carbon dioxide. The nitric oxide levels in my blood has shot through the roof. So now I'm feeling decent. I'm feeling quite happy again. And then I'll allow, and maybe I continue that on, or maybe I leave it till the next time I start feeling tired and I do it again. And I keep doing that on the way home. Never had an accident. Never actually nodded off on the road since I've been doing that. Have in the past.
Because you weren't doing it.
I've driven using the force a few times. Yeah, it's quite amazing how I'm not dead. Waking up, I was just about to drive into the back wheel the front wheel of an Arctic lorry. Whoa, away!
Oh my God!
Wake up at the wheel. But no, yeah. So that's the tip as well. Maybe because there's a potential for blacking out. So this is a tip for staying awake on the roads. Do breath work. So you could do inhale, where you breathe everything in, you fill up everything, and you hold on to that as long as you can, and it'll probably be longer than the exhaled breath hold. But if you do both, you flip flop between the two. One, it's keeping your mind occupied as well when you're in a very boring situation of driving down the middle lane of the M4 or the M25 in heavy traffic. Oh God, this sucks. I've still got another hour to go. It keeps you occupied, but it also keeps you awake. It keeps you oxygenated, and so when you get home, you're much less fatigued than you would be otherwise. Because when you got home, if you're married and you get home, you've got chores to do. Guaranteed. Walk through that front door. Oh, I've got a job for you. Oh, I've just been doing the job all day.
Or I just ignore it.
Yeah, whatever. Do I have to do it now?
Get to it later.
Yeah.
I got other things to do.
Right this minute.
Yeah,
But, yeah.
exactly. Well, there's something else like during active time when I'm sprinting or doing any aerobic type exercise, I tend to breathe slower because when I breathe too fast, I feel like fainting. So my breath is slower, even though I'm going 1, 2, 1, 2, a little bit faster speed, my breath isn't. And I tend to be able to go longer than I would normally go with breathing a bit slower when I'm doing aerobic type activities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I find if I'm doing aerobic work, it's generally going to be more sprint based.
Yeah.
There will come a point where with all the will in the world, there's not enough oxygen in the world, and I'll breathe in with them. I'm mouth breathing. My eyes are like saucers. I'm panicking. But the work needs to be done. You breathe according to the effort level.
Yeah, that's
Um,
it.
but in the early stages, I mean, that's another one. When you're doing sprints, there should be a period between each sprint where you are recovering to the point where you can put 100% into the next one. So that might mean 3 minutes rest between each sprint, because as you get older, your recovery ability sort of diminishes somewhat. So
Yeah.
it might be as much as 3 minutes. In that time, then, as the breathing's coming down, you're trying to get back into nasal breathing as fast as you can, because that's going to then basically increase your parasympathetic response. So you're now relaxed again,
Yeah.
because as you start breathing through the mouth, you're going to be hitting the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, panic. Was it the new one? Is fight, flight, or fawn? So
Or what? Or
fawn,
fawn?
yeah, fawning over someone. So if you find yourself in a fight or flight situation, you can't get away. Sometimes you might just go, "Hi, yeah, don't stab me. What do you want me to do for you?"
Mm,
That fawning.
I gotcha.
I heard another one as well, and it's just like one of those things where they're starting to steal words. But it's fight or flight. It's like
Right.
get into a fight or run away.
Right.
And so yeah, so you're in that sympathetic nervous system realm where you're not in any danger, so it's not a fight situation, but you are in that realm where another thing with the style of breath work that I tend to do is I will get a point where I'm lying down completely relaxed, but there is an element of panic because I've not breathed now for 3 minutes, and I'm thinking, can I get to 4? And
Mm.
I'm counting this stuff off in my head, so it maybe not be 100% accurate, but I'm not. I remember there was the times where you know, I've got to hold this breath for 180 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and then you brush it in. No, can't do that. It's more important that I know exactly how long I've gone, so the next time I do it, and it won't be the next time, it will maybe be 10 weeks down the line, has suddenly increased my oxygen capacity to survive off of less and boost along. So yeah, the longest I've ever done was I think 4 minutes and 10 seconds externalized breath hold.
Yeah.
I was doing circa 4 minutes a lot.
Mm.
Just lately, I've kind of slackened off a bit to the point where I'm not going to push this will come back as the spring kicks in, and I'm sure I'll get back into more aggressive, more masculine approaches to how long can I go before I fall over. How long can I go before I've done stuff where after I've done all my breath work, then I start doing chakra work where I'm now pulling air into me. I'm working on each chakra, and then at the end, I'm pushing all the air up into my head, and I'm holding it there, and I'm pushing my head out. And the
Yeah.
next thing I know, is I wake up on the floor,
Oh my
thinking,
God.
how did I get here?
That's
And then,
extreme, guy.
oh yeah, and then go do it again. Do it 3 times. I have to do it 3 times. Every time I'm thinking, am I going to induce a stroke?
Oh my God. People don't try that at home.
Yeah, don't try that at home. I mean, if you do that, then
If you
maybe
do.
look into it. Um, Joe Dispenza. That's one of the
Oh
techniques
yeah.
he teaches.
Yeah.
One of the more advanced techniques he teaches. I forget where I came across. I came across it years ago. And I just started playing around with it. There's visualization involved. So each chakra has to be visualized before.
Exactly.
And you'll hold that breath within the chakra. You make it go from a plate. You see the color. You turn it to a ball. You spin the ball. Ball is shiny. It's moving. Then you release. Then you come up to the next one and you release. And then finally into the head and push as hard as you can.
Yeah.
Wake up the floor.
So there's also, like, I used to suffer with anxiety, and I would have these panic attacks in the middle of the night. I was in a high stress situation at that time of my life. So what I would do is get water while I'm going through. It feels like a heart attack, but get water and then just sit there in. Usually I like to go outside, but in the middle of the night, I just sit there with the door or window open and just breathe deep and slowly and keep saying to myself, relax, it's okay, relax, it's okay. Drink water, because during a panic attack, I just get really thirsty. So drinking as much water as I can and just slowly breathing into it and relaxing a bit more, relaxing my mind a bit more, and relaxing my body and just going through it all until it's gone. And then I was able to get back to bed. But yeah, I know a few people who do suffer from panic attacks and anxiety, and the breath work is really great for people who go through that.
Yeah,
And
I
also
think
you got to look at your life to see the stress level of your life, which at that time for me it was quite high. I don't get them anymore, but yeah.
no, me neither. I mean, I've had post-traumatic stress. Kind of went through some like personal deep dive into me and discovered that my the initial PTSD started when I was 2 years old, and I've been carrying that through ever since. And it's very interesting that traumatized boys tend to join the army.
Ah, interesting.
It's a strange phenomenon. I don't fully understand it myself. But you go in the military. My trauma comes from the beating that my mother gave me when I was 2 years old, and total shock. You know, I'm only two. I wasn't expecting that, and then something snaps in you, and then you kind of go looking for another family through the army, like a gang. Maybe you don't join the army, join a gang, and you get in situations with your new brotherhood.
Yeah.
But then the trauma is then impacted, compounded, and continues on. And so I've had many times where I've literally known that if I don't get a grip of this right this second now, I'm going to go completely insane, and I might end up topping myself, which is suicide, because I don't see how I can deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
And breath work is an amazing way of getting over it. And you literally, for me, myself, I can only speak for myself, obviously, but I have sliced away at this thing to the point where I can I can go to sleep straight away. There are times when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it's not through stress. It's just basically usually injury related. I will be lying on an old injury, and that will then be the demon will be stabbing me in that part of my body, wakes me up. Often now it's I need to go to the toilet in the middle of the night, but then I can always get back to sleep pretty easily. I don't sit there lying there for 3 hours stewing over everything.
There is a method for people who do. I do lie there for 3 hours, and someone taught me years ago that you don't have to, that there's a way you can get yourself back to sleep, and it's all 100% breath.
Yeah.
It's the way your body is laying down on the bed, your mindset, what's going through your mind. Sometimes I just journal everything because I tend to overthink. So I just journal everything in my head, makes me tired. Then I start my breath work and I'm asleep right away. So I don't really suffer from not being able to sleep as much. I do if I don't do the breath work and I don't do the journaling, then I will stay awake for a couple hours without going back to sleep. But if I do those two practices, I can get myself back to sleep, no problem.
I mean, if you find that you're not you, Tina, but I know, because I know you eat your dinner quite early. But if
Yeah.
people are having dinner 8, 9 o'clock at night and then going to bed at 10, all the blood that should be sort of mellowing out through your body has now gone straight to your stomach. You are in the rest and digest phase, but your blood should be doing other things at this point. If you've had a large meal, if there's a lot of carbohydrates, that's gonna completely affect your sleep pattern. I mean, I see old films from the 40s, 30s, and 40s of Americans drinking coffee after they've had their dinner at 10 o'clock at night and expecting to sleep. How the hell you shouldn't be drinking coffee after sort of 11 o'clock in the morning.
Well, Guy, there's people who say different, that they can go to sleep no problem. And you know what? I think that would be a great conversation to have. So breath work, I mean, there we'll show some examples definitely within this podcast, and maybe later, if people are interested in more breath work, we can give them some more ideas
Yeah.
on what to do.
Definitely happy to take some people through a 2 hour breath cycle.
Yeah, we can, can't we?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking if people were interested, we could even
Yeah.
put on a workshop, a
Yeah, if
one
people
day
are
workshop.
interested, just let us know in the chat feature. Just let us know if you are, or just contact us through our email. And yeah, we'll get right back to you and put something together if people are really interested in that. And, dependent on what they want to work on too with themselves and their bodies. And if it's sleep, if it's during exercise, if it's brain fog, even brain fog for me, I have to move and breathe to subside it. And I get it pretty badly.
I have a,
Unfortunately,
I
that's
have a
my downfall.
I have a product placement. So if anyone's interested, this is not I wouldn't call this a beginner's book, but there's enough in here to
The
get you started.
illuminated breath.
And
Yeah.
it's called The Illuminated Breath by Dylan Werner. And it's basically, it'll take you from start all the way through to high-level yogi status. If you did everything in this book within the space of about 3 years, chances are you'd end up as being a little bit like Paramahansa Yogananda.
Amazing.
Pretty switched on, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Guy. Well, we'll end it here and subscribe, and yep, we
Subscribe
have
and
more.
like and hit that bell and all the other stuff that goes with it. Comment in the comment section. Whatever it is people do on when you comment, be nice. There's no need to be a horrible troll. It says more about you than it does about us.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Love and peace, babe.
Yeah, man. See you later.
Bye.